In 1957, Elvis didn't just shake his hips, he shook the snow globe, too. Across America, the holiday season had its familiar rhythm. Bing Crosby's voice floated from living room radios. Families decorated silver tinsel trees. Downtown department stores filled their windows with toy trains velvet-dressed, mannequins, and a few hopeful signs promising layaway available. It was a time when Christmas was wholesome, safe, predictable. And then Elvis Presley walked in. The controversy that rocked the manger when RCA Victor announced Elvis would release a Christmas album. Excitement buzzed through teenage fan clubs. But not everyone was ready for the king of rock and roll to step into the sacred season. Some church leaders openly protested. They claimed Elvis's style, that low, sultry vibrato, the playful swing in his voice, was sacrilegious when applied to hymns. Canadian radio DJ Ben Sims even refused to play Elvis's version of White Christmas, calling it a perversion of the Irving Berlin classic. Berlin himself reportedly hated it, believing his sentimental ballad had been turned into something far too casual, almost irreverent. And yet, the pushback only made teenagers want to hear it more. December 1957. Cultural crossroads. To understand why this was such a cultural moment, you have to picture the America Elvis was stepping into. Rock and roll was barely 5 years old as a mainstream genre. Parents called it a passing fad. Ministers called it the devil's music. And yet, every week, more teenagers were swiveling their hips in front of living room mirrors, imitating the man from Tupelo with the jet black hair. Christmas. Music in the 50s was dominated by crooners, Perry Como, Nat King Cole, and of course, Bing. The idea of mixing that tradition with rock and roll was, well, almost scandalous. This wasn't just an album release. It was a collision of two worlds. The old sentimental Christmas and the new electric youth culture. The album itself. When Elvis's Christmas album hit stores in October 1957, the cover was pure holiday charm. A smiling Elvis in a red jacket, snowflakes drifting across the frame, framed in a green and white border that looked like a department store Christmas card. Inside, the track list was carefully balanced. On one side, gospel reverence, Silent Night, O Little Town of Bethlehem, and Take My Hand, Precious Lord. On the other, pure Elvis playfulness, Santa Bring My Baby Back to Me, and the now iconic Blue Christmas. That balance wasn't accidental. Elvis grew up loving gospel music. It was in his bones from childhood church services in Mississippi. But he also knew how to wink at a lyric to inject mischief into a melody. It made the album both safe for grandma and thrilling for teenagers. Blue Christmas becomes a holiday rebel. If one track defined the album, it was Blue Christmas. The song had existed before. Country singer Ernest Tubb recorded it in 1949, but Elvis turned it into something unforgettable. His voice slid low on the verses, warm as a cup of cocoa by the fire, then jumped into a playful, almost teasing tone in the chorus. The background singers gave it that cheeky double quotes, woo-woo-woo harmony that made it feel almost like a doo-wop Christmas party. By the next December, it wasn't just on the radio. It was everywhere. In diners with tinsel on the counter, at high school winter dances, in the background of TV commercials selling shiny new Chevrolets. Holiday 1957. The visuals imagine walking through a 1950s American Christmas scene. Main Street glows under strings of oversized colored bulbs. Department store Santas ring silver bells on street corners, collecting coins for charity. Wool coats, mink stoles, and felt hats fill the sidewalks as snow falls in fat, lazy flakes. Now step into an RCA record store display. There's a cardboard cutout of Elvis in a Santa hat, leaning on a candy cane-striped guitar. stacks of his Christmas album tower beneath him, next to glossy 45 singles wrapped with blue ribbon. In the window, a sign reads, "Give the gift of Elvis. The whole family will love it." Parents weren't always convinced, but teenagers happily put it at the top of their wish lists, breaking records and setting history. Despite the controversy, the album exploded. By the end of the holiday season, Elvis's Christmas album had sold millions, and over the decades, it would become the best-selling Christmas album in U.S. history, with over 20 million copies sold. And here's the twist. It wasn't just about sales. The album proved something cultural. Rock and roll could handle tradition. It could respect the past while still shaking things up. And in doing so, it carved out a permanent spot for itself in the American holiday soundtrack. Legacy and influence. Over the years, countless artists, from the Beach Boys to Mariah Carey, would record Christmas, albums blending their signature sound with holiday classics. But Elvis had been the pioneer. He'd opened the door for Christmas to be more than just sentimental. It could be cool, flirty, even rebellious. Today, you'll still hear Blue Christmas drifting from speakers in grocery stores, playing during ice skating nights and filling kitchens where cookies are cooling on the counter. It's timeless, partly because it's nostalgic, partly because it still feels like it's breaking just a little bit of the rules. Elvis didn't just sing carols. He made Christmas swing. He took the season's most familiar songs, dressed them in blue suede, and turned the holidays into something you could dance to. And more than 6 decades later, every time that sly drawl comes on the radio, you can still hear the sound of 1957, a time when the king of rock and roll proved he could rule the North Pole, too.